Hello and good everyone. A lot has been happening in Nigeria as a nation from the day the president became the 001 of the nation. It's been 18 months since President Bola Ahmad Tinubu has been the president of Nigeria from the 29th May 2023 till today, December. A lot has happened. There have been so many policy reforms, and there have been so much policies that have, made the nation and also kind of shaked the nation. With me in this video is Engineer Jibril Ibrahim, who will join me to analyze and look into some of these policies. Welcome, Engineer Jibril Ibrahim. From the beginning of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he announced the removal of fuel subsidy.
The fuel subsidy is gone.
With the purpose of ending the corruption behind that agenda. But then there have been so much of bad effects on the populace of the nation, like the rise of fuel, transportation costs, even as far as living, the cost of living. People will tell you now that before they transport this cement to this place, the price of fuel is making this to become expensive. The cement itself has even become expensive, making it so hard for the people and even the nation to cope with. What do you have to say about the removal of fuel subsidy? Is it a good idea, or should the president consider going back to putting back the subsidy?
All right, thank you very much, Halal, for having me on the show. I hope we are coping with the T-pain, as the Tinubu administration is currently being referred to by a segment of the society. A lot of people now joke around it, calling the administration or the government T-pain, which is a reflection of the kind of pain that the country and majority of the people are going through. So in truth, I would think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has stood by his words, in the sense that even before getting into power, he had talked about the fact that there is need for a lot of reforms in the way the country, especially in the economy of the country. There are some things just need to change, and those changes will be painful. So really, while we might not realize it to be this painful, but we just have to know that some things would change, some things will be affected. So that's like the base of it. But if you ask that, should he go back or not, that would be a bit difficult. Already, the process is the thing is in motion, actually, and he can actually go back. He can actually step back a bit, because this 1.5 years period without the fuel subsidy would definitely should have let us know how much the consumption is. Unfortunately, we can't really say that yet, because Dangote refinery has come on board, and there's still a lot of politics that is still preventing us from knowing the exact number that is loaded by trucks that are within Nigeria. Because now that he has removed the subsidy, there is no big incentive for anybody to take petrol from Nigeria and move it outside the country, like smuggle it across the borders into our neighboring countries, which was which was essentially the key factor that made it difficult for us to know our actual consumption and everything. But I think by the time we know our actual consumption, it is not completely unheard of for the president to still find a way to subsidize, either at the production level or at the consumption level, either at the people buying it, or even with Dangote himself, wherever. There is still need for adjustment to it would be nice. Maybe I will not call it a need, because Nigerians are very resilient people. Despite the prices you see today, despite the prices, there are still queues at the filling stations, even at the high price. Even at 1,100, you'll still be looking for it, because we don't have choice, and the market will just adjust for it. But a lot of people below a certain level in the society are going into extreme survival mode. Some people are actually having to do things they would normally not do just to survive. So in a way, the president might be thinking Nigerians will survive, but it's pushing people into situations that they would naturally not want to be in. As it is now, the primary premise for removing the subsidy has been that the corruption is there, but a lot of previous administration, like at least the past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, did not want to remove it without first fixing the refineries. But Tinubu came and he decided to remove it before fixing the refineries. That's what we believe has made the fuel subsidy component of his whole activities painful. But as it is now, we hear that we know that Dangote refinery is up and running. As at yesterday, the TLC and NLC also confirmed that the Port Harcourt refinery too now is up and running and producing petrol. So really, I think we're at an inflection point in the country where we can now take a decision on what we want the price of the PMS to be for the common people, because at least now we know that we own the fuel. We are the one extracting the crude. So the stock for the refineries are in-house. There is no dollar component to it. There is no freight of moving them from like when do we need to import. There is no issue of importation or shipping cost and the rest. So it is easy for us to focus on however we want the fuel to be now, since most of the parameters are within our control. So I would say, if we are in a nutshell, if you say should the president remove the subsidy, I would say no. We are already here. Let's keep rolling forward and make the best of it. Most Nigerians really might be able to adjust for it on the condition that we can see what that money is being used for, which currently, in all honesty, that benefit has not become obvious yet. But we just have to be hopeful and believe in the process and just follow the process.
Thank you very much, Engineer Jibril. Yes, we are already there. The ball is already rolling. He has hit the ground running, and there is actually no going back. We as a nation just need to keep bearing, and that's why at the end of this video, I would like us to look into some things that we as Nigerians can start doing to help ourselves become better and not completely depend on the nation's economical growth. Or yes, our goal is to actually help the economy grow, but then whether it's falling or it's going up, we need to strive as a nation with our resilience and our knowledge to keep ourselves going regardless of whatever and whenever. Amongst these policy reforms in the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the increment of tariff, the electricity tariff. I'm sure you've heard about that and how the band A prices has gone up from data has it that on the 3rd of April 2024, a new tariff of 225 naira per kilowatt per hour was implemented for band A customers, reflecting a more than 200% increment from the previous rate of 68 naira per hour. This, of course, would therefore make the number. Let's say you used to buy 8,000 naira units before, and now the prices has increased. So normally, if 8,000 naira unit would last you a day, now it could last you maybe just 12 hours. I'm sure you've heard people complain about this, and you by yourself, how
this reforms of President Tinubu is that he's trying to move the nation into a market-driven economy. The market forces demand and supply. You want electricity, go and buy it. Government does not have business paying or subsidizing electricity for you. That's what he has done with the petrol, with the whole energy sector, the petroleum industry, and that's what he's doing, in the electricity, the power supply, electricity supply, and that's similar to what he's planning. What we suspect is also planning to do with the education sector, especially the tertiary education. The prices will go up, and if you have money, you go and buy it. If you don't have money, sorry, you go and look for the money, essentially. So it's a thing of that's like where he's heading. So for me, I think the big issue here is this is how a lot of countries work. Not all, but majority of countries, the cost of power in Nigeria is was highly subsidized. I think even up to now it's still a bit subsidized. Power is actually expensive. Energy supply is expensive. But many of these countries that we quote that, okay, that's how it is in a lot of these countries, we need to appreciate where they are coming from before they came to a point where they could liberalize and let market forces take control. They subsidize the building of some core infrastructure. You don't pay for electricity at market price, fuel at market price, education at market price. Your security, you provide your security. You provide virtually everything by yourself. Then what is the work of the government? So some of these things are okay in theory or in principle, but really a lot of things happen on the side that I'm not seeing this government. A lot of commensurates, a lot of support should be given to the people that, unfortunately, I don't get a feeling that this administration is sensitive to that. So while it's easy to tax people because you will still get to the issue of taxation, you want to collect more taxes, you want people to pay more, you want all these things. Well, it's all fine and good, but you have to be ready to deliver the value of governance that comes with somebody that has collected all this money into one pot. Because if you don't curb corruption, you collect all this money, you are not subsidizing electricity, you are not subsidizing education, you are not subsidizing agriculture, you are not subsidizing fuel and petrol. Then fine, you have a lot of money, but you might end up having a lot of angry people that would not make the benefits of all these things you are doing to be sustainable. So I think the human side of all these policies is what the government needs to look at. But in truth, cost of power generation is actually heavily subsidized in Nigeria, and that has been said as being part of the reasons why a lot of investors do not come into enough investment is not coming into Nigeria's energy sector and the rest. So I would think again, it's another policy that is like part of the things he had planned to do before coming into power, and he just comes into it. I don't think he's checking the ground and checking the situation well enough to time his interventions, because it's easy to say, that's what I want to do. I've told people that there will be pain, and the pain has come, they should just bear it. What is the guarantee that after the 9 months of the pregnancy, we will not have an aborted, a stillbirth or something like that? So that is my concern, that there are a lot of the other human components of these noble policies and necessary policy reforms, the human sides of them, the corruption side of them, the developmental focus of all these things is what I'm concerned about. So really, I would again say that President Bola Tinubu is our president for now. We have to do everything to get the best out of what he is doing. We have to support him to the best of our ability so that we can get the best of what he can offer while we hope for something better. We will hope for the best. He's in power, so I would say we should stay with the T-pain and just bear the pain, and Bismillah will come out of it. The nation will come out of it in a better shape.
Thank you so much, Jibril. We also need to still look at another reform, as you have mentioned earlier, about taxation. Billing. I don't know who used to bill people before, but it's like the government are beginning to bill the masses by now adding a naira charge to transfers or transactions from 10,000 naira and beyond. I don't know of other taxations that have been underground. For example, in the public service, with the civil servants and the government workers. I'm not a government worker, so I really don't know about that part. But the one I know of as someone who is earning from the little I'm earning, and then getting 15 naira for every transfer I make from 10,000 naira and above, of course, it's surely going to affect me. The POS prices, has increased from 100 naira now. Some are selling 150, some are selling 200 naira. This will also affect the markets and even the individuals. What do you have to share on this matter?
I think the tax reform is another necessary thing. So generally, you will see that President Tinubu is heavily focused. He's a person of financial reform. at petrol from financial point of view, we can't keep paying an amount that we can't keep subsidizing with so much money. If you look at the energy, the electricity reforms also is about getting people to pay. It's all about money. So he's a person that is heavily focused on the financial side of the economy, which is important. You know, we keep saying that it's important, but is it holistic? Is it a total package? Or we are just looking at the finance and not being sensitive to the other human side of it? Because if you look at the tax reforms now, quite a number of things, like they said, after going through the bill itself and everything, you will see that there are quite a number of things that are well intended. If they are moving the collection of the taxes from the states, because the big issue is some states are not generating enough of VAT, value-added tax, and versus some other states like Lagos. Everybody talks about the big cities like Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Kano. These are the biggest collection points, and it is because that is the headquarters of a lot of companies. A lot of collection processes are happening there. So if we decentralize the collection of taxes and then collect them at the state level and everything, so it looks like it will probably make things better. But generally, the VAT component of it, and then even the income tax on it, because now for the company profit tax, they are like, if you don't do a revenue of, I think 50 or 100 million in a year, you would not need to pay, you know, tax. Before it was like 10 million naira. If you are not doing 10 million naira in revenue in a year, you would not have to pay tax. So all this will be good. Definitely the people at the lower end of the ladder would probably benefit from that. But I see a lot of reforms around the financial sector of the economy without a commensurate strategy around the fiscal and the actual well-being of the people. We don't hear much about it. We don't hear much about the health sector. We don't hear any plan on the health sector. We don't hear any serious plan on the actual quality of education. Because even if you increase the cost of school fees in education, for example, how do you guarantee that it will actually translate to better education in the tertiary institutions? We are not hearing anything about that. I would have had a situation where, okay, we are increasing the cost of electricity and we are guaranteeing that there will be 24 hours of light. So now you still have band A, band B, and band C, and yet you still don't have 24 hours, you still don't have a regular and predictable supply of power. You know, if you increase the tax reforms, but the money still does not, it still gets embezzled. There is still no commensurate development. Security services are still not improving and everything. It will be essentially a steel bath where the mother goes through the pain and there is no baby at the end of the tunnel for the mother to smile at. So with respect to the tax reforms, I would definitely wish that he can push. That's an example of a policy that I would rather have him pause and let's stabilize the first subsidy issue. Let's stabilize this electricity issue. Let's stabilize these other policies that are already in motion. Get a hang of them before layering it with another round of confusion, another round of rancor in the economy. Except they are deliberately doing it to divert people from something else, because sometimes they throw some things in the policy, in the polity for people to discuss about, while taking their eyes, deliberately diverting them from some other conversations. So I would think that the tax reform needs to be done. Nigeria, we are not collecting, the government is not actually collecting enough taxes, that is for sure. But now, but President Tinubu is trying to get more revenue, trying not to pay more in terms of subsidy of electricity, in terms of subsidy of petrol, in terms of subsidy in the tertiary education. And he's still trying to even extract more in terms of tax. So that looks more like a double whammy sort of on the people. Let's fix one side, roll that forward a bit, get some traction with that, and then fix the other side with respect to taxation. But at least the foreign reserve is rising now, which is nice to see. Quite a number of macroeconomic indices are let's roll this forward. You know, the whole forex stabilization. Let's roll all these things forward, get some hang of those things. Let's see the fruits of those ones, and then we can roll another round of policies. But it looks like he just knows what he wants to use to spend less, get more money. But we are not getting an idea of what he will do with the money. When he collects the tax, we don't know what he will do better with it. When he stops paying fuel subsidy, we have seen that he didn't do anything tangible with it. Because if we look at infrastructure development, we are seeing more from the Minister of the FCT than we are seeing from Minister of Works and Housing or Ministry of Transport. We are not seeing anything from some of these major ministries and major arms of government that are supposed to provide services for the people. We are not seeing it. We are not seeing anything major from Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health is heavily now financed by foreign donors and foreign support. And some of these foreign things, they come with strings attached in one way or the other. So if you listen to Mohamed Pate, the Minister of Health, you hear a lot of what they are doing with foreign. These things are not very indigenous, and they come at a cost. They don't build jobs within Nigeria. They don't build capacity enough within the Nigerian society. So I really wish to see more of what the government plans to do with the money that it is collecting, or the one that it is not spending in forms of the subsidy that has been stopped, before going into tax reform. The tax reform looks good. A number of components of it looks good, but it's necessary to get the buy-in of all stakeholders so that everybody is on the same page, and there is potential that we'll be able to at least harvest the fruits of those things if there is some form of national unity around the policy. And that, for me, honestly, that collectiveness is not being achieved in the current pace at which he's implementing these policies currently.
You've shared so much with us, Engineer Jibril Ibrahim, and while you were talking, of course, your words caught me so much that I had to even ponder about the president's recent travel to France as a foreign, among these foreign policies, the signing of different MOUs. Recently, he traveled to France, and we've learned and we've seen in news and so many outlets that countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and other African countries are running away from France. Among the issues, of course, France is, taking from their resources and they're not giving back anything. So, of course, they don't have anything, or they do not want to have anything to do with France anymore. But then here is our great nation, Nigeria, the giant of Africa, going back to a country that other African countries are running away from. What can we say about this?
So I think it's not so much of just France, actually, but the direction of the president is actually a dangerous. That's one thing that I think is very worrying about our president. He's Western trained. So many, and you get that feeling from many of his policies. He's West trained. So a lot of his policies are trying to mimic or follow the footsteps of the West. And there are quite a number of things that we have seen over the last 50 years or so since independence. That would be like 60 years since independence, that we can say that we cannot be sure that the Western world has the interest of African and their former colonies at heart. But unfortunately, President Tinubu was trained in America. He did his education and did a lot. He has worked with ExxonMobil and the rest. These are Western communities, so he thinks a lot in Western terms. And to be honest, he's relatively worrisome in the sense that that's where he takes his inspiration and some of these policy directions from. So if you look at France, for example, like you said, a lot of countries that have been colonized, and even the whole neo-colonization by putting policies that people can be free to probably vote and some other things, but they are not economically independent. They are not in global policy and global trade and geopolitical issues. They are not independent. They are still, controlled and under French form of colonization. So a lot of people are decoupling from the West. Maybe not, we are not necessarily talking about complete because we are independent, and it's not as if England or France is controlling Nigeria. But he doesn't seem to be able to put the actual developmental needs around job creation, around safety, security needs of the country into proper perspective. We don't get a sense that he has a policy, he has clarity on how to grow the nation with respect to security and some of the core developmental issues. He's a heavily financial oriented person. So if you look at the France trip, some of the highlights of the France trip is that Tony Elumelu also was there, and they will be opening a UBA branch in France. I mean, what concerns, how is that a national priority for an average Nigerian? So he's heavily into finance and financial related matters, and that is, for me, really worrisome. I'm not hearing a continuation of the discussion on the past generation, which the Nigerian needs. You know, that was a discussion that was had with Germany through Siemens. So I would have wanted to hear that he went to Germany, not to France, to go and solidify and bring and, you know, give us updates on the power deal with Siemens. But you go to France, they are talking nothing. We can't even get sense of tangible stuff. And we know France, they've been in the northern Africa, in the Sahel region of Africa, across Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Chad. And all the people saw that their security situation worsened. So how do you go to partner with somebody that stayed in a place for 40 years and the security of the place did not improve? And they had to be kicked out of those countries. And that's the same person that you are running to for your security needs. So for me, it looks like some old relationships that he has had with the West is what he's essentially trying to oil. And again, we don't want anarchy in the country. We don't want confusion. What pays us as a nation is to support the government and then hope for the best. But the way he is going, we might have all the money. Our foreign reserve might be so large. He might be bringing all those foreign direct investment and all sort of things. But if it doesn't translate to safety and security for the people, if it doesn't translate to better healthcare service delivery, if it doesn't translate to food security and energy security, then these things, you can have all the money. If you don't have all these things, the people would not be, you know, ready to move out to support him in 2027. I've heard that he said he's not interested yet in 2027, but we will be pleased to have him continue the momentum if he knows, if he has a clear strategy on what he plans to do as he collects more money and spends less on the people. We hope we will get a sense of where he would actually take the nation from there, because the core issue of the core impediment to the development of this country has been corruption. So, and without a clear strategy on how you're planning to fight corruption, we don't get anything that has changed within the civil service, within the public service. And you are just pumping more money into systems that are corrupted. It's like fetching so much money into a basket, a leaky basket. There is no work done, because the money will not be retained. People will still share it, and people will still abuse it and everything. So the masses will just suffer, and it would the fruit might not come out. We are not saying it won't come out, but we wish that we can get some sense of direction. We are getting a sense of direction with respect to financial matters, but beyond that, we are not getting a clear sense of direction with respect to other components of the society, health, agriculture, energy. We are not getting any updates on all these other sectors. It has all just been money, 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 money. All right, so I think there are two things that I would recommend that we look at. There is the foundation and then there is the roof, so to say. I would advise that we focus heavily on agriculture and food security. This is something, whatever it is, wherever you are as a person, however you can enhance food security, it would be nice for us in one way or the other, either at the farming level, at the middleman level, buying and selling, everything that has to do with food must be secured. The security of food security is a primary thing that we need to look look at. So I would recommend for youth, for anyone that is able to do it, to look at the whole agriculture value chain and find a space to add value. It's currently difficult and unsafe and even not very profitable to be at the bottom of the agricultural value chain, which is the point where you actually do the farming. It's currently quite difficult because of security reasons, and then even the selling price and all these things. So, but those that can do it in a safe manner, I would really like the trip that the president made to France and the rest. I would rather wish to see people coming to invest in agriculture, so that the volume of and the quality of food being produced can be, enhanced. The roof part of it is for us to look at innovation, because that's what is driving the world. The world, China and America are currently at war over chips production and artificial intelligence. That's microchips and all this tech stuff. And Africa is not even part of that conversation at all. It's not the best for us. A lot of jobs are being created in the digital and technology space. It has room for growth and room for expansion, for engaging as many people as possible. So those are two broad areas that I would recommend, that they are still fertile, they are still expandable, and there is room to scale in tech and in agriculture. Those are two areas that I will encourage a young person and old person to go into. There's market can be done profitably, and there's markets there, and that would be my recommendation.
So thank you very much, Engineer Jibril Ibrahim. A lot has been said about the policies and all of the reforms that have been made in various policies in Nigeria, existing and even the policies that have been created. We pray and we hope that it will be the benefit that the President is looking forward to these policies coming with. We pray we begin to see it. But then I love the fact that we are ending this with advice to the people that agriculture and innovation is a big sector that is open to everyone, is open for everyone. People want to eat. People will eat day in, day out, whether it's bread, whether it's rice, whether it's beans, whether it's tomato, whatever it is. The agriculture sector is so big that myself and yourself can be inside and nobody is harming anybody or nobody is fighting over anybody. But we do hope that the government and the administration of President Bola Tinubu can, help deal with the insecurity challenges, because of course we didn't look into this part of the problems affecting the nation. But then we hope in subsequent episodes we'll look at security and insecurity challenges. The tech space is so big that day in, day out, they just keep the numbers of engineers needed in the artificial intelligence sector is so much. Machine learning experts is so much. There are so much hands needed in these sectors, and I hope that you all and myself first will do well to be a part of those that will change the narrative of the nation. Thank you so much, Engineer Jibril Ibrahim, for your time. I look forward to having you next time to discuss tech, travels, and trends in the nation.
All right, thank you very much for having me. We'll see you next time.